It's Edge Radio Australia, time for Freedom Fridays. Now, I realise I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking, it doesn't really feel like a Friday to me. It feels a bit more Monday. There's still coffee in my hand.
You've got Monday-itis.
I really have. I've had it for 4 days, apparently. But no, we're about to fire into Freedom Fridays. I have a gentleman to my right here. Derek, great to see you, mate.
Good to be here, mate.
Now, I want to give you the big intro, of course, because we we don't normally share a seat here. I'm feeling a little claustro. Just going to say,
it's an honour to be at your right hand, Aaron. Let's put it that way. You know,
you're invading his personal space.
He likes to own the couch. You know?
I do. Stretch out, get comfy. Or maybe I feel like I'm having a bit of a psychology section here. I have to lay on the couch.
It's the man couch. You know the dad couch.
There's a reason that couch is a little bit wider than this side.
Oh, harsh. And with that, the intro is going so well because I was going to introduce our lovely guest, but I'm going to work. I'll use English. Okay, put my teeth back in. I'm going to introduce first everyone around the room, and then I'm going to leave Travis to introduce our guest because you did organise our lovely and illustrious guest. So we'll get there in a moment, if I may. All the way in the US of probably the happiest place in the world. It has the yellow brick road. It is wonderful, wonderful. It is Orange Man good territory. Hey, good to see you, Dan.
That's terrible.
And we're celebrating Veterans Day here in the United States.
Good to see you, mate. And well, of course, we have Remembrance Day here in Australia as well at 11 o'clock, 11. We have to take that moment to really think about it. And we don't have to. It's an incredible privilege to have the opportunity to actually be able to embrace that freedom that has been fought for by so many men and women in the past. Over there, well, he's introduced himself and made lots of noise, of course.
I know I'm trying to put you off. Well, it's been a long time since we've done that. The annoy Aaron session.
Yes, well, you're very good at it. You could go pro. We really could. I have Travis Carter, the shade
travesty.
Monkey. It really is. Now, Travis, enough of this. I don't want to hear about you. I want to hear about our illustrious guest.
So we have the Honourable, because she is a member of the Legislative Council.
Yes.
I have to give credit to Martine from Martine's Eco Bites for organising the connection.
Mm-hmm.
So Sophia Moermond.
Yeah.
Did I get close?
Yeah, that's pretty
good.
Yeah.
So formerly of the Legalised Cannabis Party, he's gone independent, doing some amazing stuff in the Legislative Council. So that's effectively our upper house in Australia.
Sure.
Her job is to keep the bastards in the lower house honest. And I personally think she's probably arguably one of the only people in WA that's doing a good job. And it sounds like the police are after her already.
Exactly. Right on cue. All right. Now,
so welcome to the couch.
Yeah,
I'm trying to say it in a non-dodgy way, but anyway.
Sophie, how do you feel about being the Honourable?
I try to carry the title with integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll never fit into politics if you've got an integrity. Now, come on, really?
Yeah.
I mean, really? Okay? That's a bit of an oxymoron right there. No, really, absolutely pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, I find it very interesting that you've gone from being part of the Cannabis Party, or Legalised Cannabis Party,
Yep.
to an independent. Just before we get into sort of everything, and obviously today we're going to talk a lot about American politics, but I want to know where you come from because we haven't had this discussion yet. Your transition from that party to an independent, why? And
the Legalised Cannabis Party basically let me go.
Okay.
All right. So for the next state election, they put me 5th on the ticket.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that is an unwinnable,
of course, it
position.
Is. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and then number 4 was one of my staffers. Number 3 is one of Brian's staffers. Number 2 is a woman from Margaret River, and then first up is Brian Walker.
So politics has happened, simple as that, I guess.
Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah. Sadly, I do. Behind the scenes, how it works, it's very different to what the public see. But it's very much like a schoolyard scrap, and a lot of egos.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people lose sight. Certainly, when they get in that position, they lose sight of what they're there to do, and that's represent the people. So good on you for becoming independent, because quite frankly, nothing says representing the people like independence, because ultimately, Yeah, you haven't got the machine behind you. Not that the smoke. What's it called? The cannabis party. The
stoners.
Okay, there you go.
Stoners bar,
The Stone
yeah.
But
Roses.
let's be honest, dope does a lot less harm than alcohol does. So I actually really genuinely support the legalization of cannabis.
There you go. Well, that's a whole other show. This show,
Yes.
okay, is going to be a celebration of what's just happened.
Just
the
like
free
in
speech.
California where they legalize marijuana.
Oh, right. All right. We'll leave the Californication out of this show.
By the way, hang on. We got someone here. So just Damo, good to hear you back, Aaron.
Oh, g'day, Damo. Great to be back, mate. Yep. It's look, quite frankly, I couldn't be gone any longer because Travis would have destroyed everything. So
I wasn't that bad. I only locked myself out once.
just
No, that's
just
true.
once.
That's not a lie either. I
Very, very
genuinely
true.
did lock
He
myself
can't
out.
even be trusted with the keys. All right. So no, great to have you here, Damo.
And Derek came to the rescue.
Derek is our absolute. You are
After your wife came to the rescue.
There we go. There we go. All right, let's get into the subject at hand. The free world is safe, as far as I'm concerned, and I tell you right now, I am so excited about the next 4 years. I am a person who was very anti-Trump back in 2015, 2016. I got on the meme rally as well, and ran through all of that hate and that rubbish that I'd been indoctrinated with, and I'm so excited to be on the other side because I did this crazy thing, bit of critical thinking. Didn't believe what the media told me. Thought, hang on, I'll use the brain matter, give it a go, and actually looked at the man's actions rather than the rhetoric of all of the far left media pundits. So, how are you feeling about all of this, Dan?
Well, the rhetoric still continues a little bit, but unfortunately for the U.S. public, the majority of Americans are not believing it.
Yeah.
So I had guessed that he'd get 312 electoral votes, and I was absolutely right. Now he did a clean sweep of all of the swing states. And has over a 5% lead in the popular vote. First time that's happened with a Republican president in many, many years. And so, the American people seem to indicate that there's a clear mandate for conservatism, freedom of speech, and the regular media folks have been lying and trying to twist the reality of things beyond the pale, and this talking about him being a fascist and Hitler and all that was just a political talking point on the part of the Democrats, trying to scare the American people into thinking that Trump isn't what Trump is, which is a tremendously strong leader and the man for the time, especially now where we face so much adversity in the world. We need a person that's strong, can stand up to Putin, can stand up for freedom, the liberty and American way, and the freedom and free speech rights of freedom-loving people around the world, really. So I'm thrilled about the result of the election.
So I have to say, so I've been watching a lot of the mainstream media since Trump won. I wanted to see how their narrative sort of changed.
Sure.
And the narrative that's come in is, oh no, this is going to be bad for Australia. The tariffs are going to kill the Australian economy and all this sort of stuff. So what I want to do, first of all, I want to ask Dan how you think this is going to affect trade with other countries. And Sophia, I'd like to find your perspective on what's happening in the WA Parliament, especially around trade, business, and everything that's associated with WA and any of our relationships with America. So, Dan, do you think this is going to hurt trade with other countries?
No, not ultimately, because what Trump does is he uses these strategies as a way of leveraging to get other countries to treat the United States fairly. And, he did the same thing with NATO. He's not going to dismantle NATO. He's just going to make everybody pay their fair share and stand up for the values and virtues that we as Americans want to support. And so no more of this woke crap, really. And so I think that's what okay, so as soon as he comes in power, right, guess who comes to the table? Putin,
straight away.
Everybody
Mhm.
straight away.
Mhm.
Yeah, everybody, they know because he doesn't put up with anybody's mess, right? He doesn't. He's a strong leader, but he doesn't sleep like Joe Biden does, and he's a very
Oh, yeah,
serious.
look, Biden, he knows the thing. Like the thing
The
about
thing,
he knows.
you remember
Yeah,
the thing.
I do
Yeah,
remember.
no.
I have a new conspiracy theory that's coming up with this one, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Later, please.
Now, Harris was always a bad choice
Oh.
to run against Trump. Who in the heck ever figured out that would work? The least popular vice president in decades, right? And the word salad and everything else. It's like the Democratic Party said about it. It was the it was the biggest waste of $1 billion that we could have ever made. Gosh, it's so
$1 billion in 90 days.
they spent $1 billion
I've got a theory on
on her campaign. They're trying to scare the American people into believing the tripe, and it was tripe. Now look what's happening to the federal cases; they're all going away. Look what's happening to the state cases; they're all going away. Everything's going to go away. Why? Because it was lawfare, and everybody knows it. American public has called them on it. And they did more to convince the American people to vote for Trump by pushing this stuff than anything else. Had they not, it might have been a different story. But Trump was able to play or be the courageous man who persevered, and in the light of being attempted as being assassinated and being persecuted, and his home being invaded, all these things, which are just absolutely insane, yes, and un-American, right? And so, if they can do it to him, they could do it to us, and that was really the bottom line, and why the American people supported Trump, because they know he will not stand for it. He knows that the FBI, the CIA, all the other spooks and everybody were on the side of the Council for Foreign Relations and the International Economic Forum and all the other BS organizations that are trying to usurp our sovereignty, our freedom and independence as people.
All right, now, Dad, time to take a breath. Important there. I want to throw to our resident. No, if I just leave Sophie for a moment, if I might. I want to throw, because we're talking about America here. Now, I have to bring in our Californian, our deep-seated Democrat here to my right.
You're asking for
I'm sorry.
I'm half and half, guys. Half and half.
Half and half.
Yeah.
As a man who was born in California, okay, you were, weren't you?
I was.
You were.
I was. I had no say in it.
That's right.
Without my consent, I was born in California.
That's right. I'm suing currently for it. Okay. It's all right. Houston will come up with reparations for you for something. It'll work that way. Mate, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I think Trump became the president of the people.
Yes.
In the process, and I think how he played it was brilliant. He went down. What he did in that hurricane situation. And said, hey, he got on the ground. He rings up his mate Elon. He makes things happen. It's like, we need communications in here. These guys need energy. They need
everything.
Generators. They need everything's been wiped out. And the token that they were getting from FEMA was, you can apply for $750. Well, that's going to go a long way. Yeah. And a lot of them were getting rejected by it. And he's like, and they couldn't get access to. And then all this crazy woke stuff comes out from this organization that's saying, don't support people who have Trump signs outside of their house. We're about equality and equity and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, you're into rescuing humanity and lives in emergency situations. And it just showed the contrast of how far left-wing politics had gone and going, you guys are just off out with the fairies right now. And Americans are going, we're sick of it. We are sick of it. Our taxpayer dollars, there is more money going to Ukraine than there are to the victims of hurricanes in this situation. What about us? It's our money. And I think that was really the contrast, and the timing of it all was just fascinating. Talk about a beautiful political campaign. I mean, you couldn't have done better with the comment on garbage, and then he rocks up in a garbage truck, you know. That
and he does all these speeches in the high-vis vest.
And then he makes fun of himself, which is so endearing, which is very Australian, I might say. But he's saying, you know, they convinced me, I lost weight, and this sort of stuff. And that's when he became the president of the people. And so he played that really, really well. And everything they threw at him just backfired in their face. It was just fascinating to watch how that played out.
Look what they did. Look what they did. They said they didn't have money for North Carolina, but they had plenty of money for Syria, right? They had money for Syria.
The bills.
I mean, I can't believe the crap that this
I agree, but Sophia, if I can just get you to pull your mic in a little bit, if you could just drag that in a little bit, that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much.
About that?
Yeah.
Cool. So it has surprised me how strong the reaction to Trump's election has been here in Australia. Okay, it seems that Australians are more involved in American politics than they are in Australian politics, which I think is quite bizarre. I wasn't surprised that Trump got elected. So probably similar to you, I was following left-wing media a lot more. And then about 4 years ago with COVID and everything, I started to realize that the left-wing media wasn't really representing the truth very well.
No.
And I started following much more right-wing media to try and get a more balanced view of things. And if you are following right-wing media, you would have known that Trump's chances of winning the election were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were really disappointed and you feel that the media didn't prepare you for Trump possibly winning, it means that you are following the wrong side of media. And yeah, going to what you were saying earlier in regards to trade with the US, I'm not an expert in that. I do know that our Premier Roger Cook made a negative comment about Trump winning.
He's a genius, that man. Absolute genius.
Yeah.
No one has their finger on the pulse quite like Cookie.
Yeah.
What a moron. What a moron.
What a moron.
His parents are even worse. They spelt his last name wrong if they forgot the R.
It's a silent. It's silent R. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I met Roger Cook many years ago. In fact, I met him first in 2009. Okay, and I have never met a more spineless jellyfish in my life.
I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Kirkup.
Okay.
Zach Kirkup.
Mate,
Sorry,
well, I never met Kirkup, so there you go. But I've never met, and I remember thinking at the time, how are you representing the people? You're not. Basically, you're here for a paycheck, mate, and for your own, personal gain. There was no interest whatsoever in helping the constituents of his area. So, and everything, you go and want a solution, right? Okay. And he had a problem for every solution, put it that way. So very weak man. And to make those comments, it just shows the lack of insight. If you're going to make, you're a politician, you're going to make a comment about another politician that can affect your life and can affect the life of those you represent, because Trump has changed my life, and here I am in Perth, Western Australia, and Trump has changed my life, right? Yeah. And as far as the speech yesterday will change the way, it's so wonderful for Edge Radio Australia, what he said yesterday.
You got to remember,
there's a lot of positives there.
Australia is about 5 to 10 years behind what American laws they pass. So what Trump does now will eventually flow through to Australia.
Yep.
So my concern with our Australian politicians is, again, they're not there for the people. They're not representing what we need. They're always there following their masters. And in Australia's Labor is the unions behind the scene. Liberals are the big major corporations. So there's the independents that have to carry that flag, and that's not getting done. And it's just a really, really great description, because the way I look at this election in America, it was Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. It wasn't the Democrats versus the Republicans in this situation, because both of them stood for totally different things, which aren't anywhere near what they originally stood for, both the Democratic and the Republican Party. So it literally came down to a popularity contest and who is going to be the best policy for each individual person. And Trump absolutely smashed it.
I don't think it was that simple. I think, what did Kamala stand for?
Nothing.
Abortion?
Yeah.
Abortion?
Yeah.
And the job she didn't do, which was to protect the border.
Yeah.
Right? Which she failed at and had 4 years of opportunity to do that. And everyone said, You didn't do it. You didn't bother to go down there. And when you did, did you go to the border? It was, in a safe spot where nobody was crossing.
But she hasn't been to Europe either. Just remember, that's important.
And she came from a middle-class family.
She did.
And then it was carbon copy of all the economic policies that Trump came up with, right? I was like, have you got any other creative ideas, that are your own? I think what it highlighted in America was the machine behind the person. And that was like so transparent to so many Americans going, this is a puppet. This is somebody who doesn't have her own views.
That's right.
Who would not represent us well as far as foreign relations are concerned. I'd like to ask you a question if I could, Sophia.
Sure.
Where do you stand in terms of Australia's relationship? Obviously, I feel like we're in a bit of a compromised position in foreign relations in Australia. Now, you can disagree with me. That's fine. It's a free country. But I'll tell you why I say that, because we want the protection of the United States. We want to do trade with the United States.
Yeah.
However, we've got this China deal going on too, where we want our cake and eat it.
Yep.
And we want to sell our dirt to China profitably, which kind of conflicts with us politically in terms of protection. What's your view on this?
Okay, so I'm state level, and at a state level, we don't really have a lot to do with international trade.
Sure.
All right. So I'm not an expert on this. But
you have an opinion.
Yeah. I kind of wish that politics would stay out of trade in a way.
She's one of us.
Because I don't always feel that people benefit from various trade agreements. Though I do think there can be good aspects of trade agreements as well.
Of course.
In particular, when we're looking at slave labor and things like that, you can make trade agreements to make sure that there's no slave labor involved in the products that you are buying. You can also put environmental clauses in there as well. And I think those things are useful. That's probably the level of knowledge that I have.
I'll take you off the hook after I've just thrown you down there.
I threw you in the deep end. I do apologize. But here's an opportunity. Let's ask, because I mean, this is the thing. Let's face it. WA is supporting the rest of the nation wealth-wise.
Oh, no question.
Right? It's our dirt that keeps the GST coming through the coffers.
Yeah.
Right? Let's face it. And so it's kind of like, and there's always been the succession talk through our history as WA. Should we have succeeded from the rest of Australia? You ask Lord Forrest on the go to the statue at Kings Park, right? Ask that kind of debate. And if we did, we'd be the 8th, 9th largest world in landmass alone. We are a continent in ourselves within a continent.
Yes,
so I think, where do you see the future of WA going?
We need to protect our industries in Western Australia, and very specifically the industries that we need to look after are fishing, sheep, rock lobsters, and they're kind of the smaller industries compared to the mining industry. So,
but you can't have all your eggs in one basket, and we currently do. Basically, that's no. And I watch the state government. I watch Roger Crook and his crew of socialists, right, destroying the rock lobster market, the fisheries. I see the destruction be all through that sector. Tourism.
The sheep farming, mate. The sheep farmers are just hurt.
Don't even get me started on that.
That you just need to take into account. So everyone goes, they're small industries. So the recreational fishing in, I think it was 2018-19, was $2 billion for the state.
Okay.
So they're not small industries by any stretch of the imagination. Like, if you take any economy and chuck $2 billion into it, it's going to be a huge boost.
That's half Derek's bank account. I mean, come on. I mean, that's a fair amount, right?
So, Derek, you're done. Donate to our campaigns.
Hey, I just want to just jump in for a moment. There's wonderful questions coming in. And I love the thing about Edge is we're interactive. Okay?
You know what's the best thing about it? They're all coming through from Twitch.
Oh, there you go. The gaming app. That's fantastic. Yeah. A couple of things just very quickly, though, with yourself. I want to thank you for being here because, quite frankly,
even though you're getting attacked by Derek,
well, you're not being.
No, it's an honest question. I want to know.
But I'm
not attacking. I just want to go.
I know. I'm teasing you, Derek. It's okay. So, damn Democrats take everything personally.
It's about your feelings.
Yeah. I need a support group.
There you go.
I need a quiet room.
Space, okay?
Right, that's right. But Sophia, my point is this: there's a lot of people who work in politics, politicians that will not sit in that chair, all right, or have sat in that chair before and have had actually their party come down and say you're not allowed back. Or I mean, once we had someone who left their jacket. Okay,
haven't we still got his jacket?
Oh, I think we still do. About 3 years ago, because the fact is, the party, in this case, the Liberal Party, did not want him to come back because he got asked the tough questions, right?
Right.
Now, so,
but he handled himself.
He was
really,
it was fantastic. No, straight up.
Fair be fair. You know what? If he was in this area as a councillor, I would absolutely vote for him.
And
because he was brilliant.
Yeah,
like,
where
really
I'm going
good.
on this is the fact that the big party politics, when they come in and that they do something. Now, quite frankly, that particular politician did an excellent job, answered some great questions. In fact, if anything, lifted their profile massively because people went, wow, this is somebody I can actually trust. This is somebody who actually has my best interests at heart, right? So all very positive. But the big machine, like we've seen in the US, the machine steps in and goes,
I love how you're pointing down at Derek's crutch. Like, that's huge compliments there.
I will just pass on. Now,
Travis,
I'm going to walk straight past that. Now, Damo's come in with a question. Thank you, Damo. By the way, I've seen your comments coming up. Just haven't got a word in edgewise. Thank you very much.
So
and I'll be looking at the comments
Damo,
later on as well.
I've got my glasses on so I can actually read it.
Awesome.
So I'm not doing my Buddy Holly impersonation. Question for the panel is what keeps Trump going? He's been shot, chased through the courts. So what is keeping Trump going? I think we should go to Sophia first.
Okay.
If you got shot in the ear, would you run again?
I think Trump is an American patriot.
Yes.
And he wants what is best for his country. And I think that's what people can see.
Yes.
In particular, free speech and the trans stuff, right? And I reckon that is one of the main factors why he won the election.
Agreed.
I think he cares.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also the other one I loved about him, like going to the big issues, like I can't believe you brought up trans yourself. That's awesome. That's sort of like a no question for all politicians at the moment. But how blunt he was on the abortion side of things as well.
Oh,
so I thought the fact, whether you support it or not, that's irrelevant. But the fact that he tackled it head on, these are my convictions. This is what I believe in. Let's go for it. Where Camilla kept tiptoeing around, it's like, oh, what do people not like the most? What should I say? Know there wasn't any.
Let's try this. We have a politician sitting here. Let's try a little question here. What is a woman?
That's not done already.
An adult human female.
Oh, and you know what?
X chromosomes.
Tell you what,
I know a lady called Tess that would love it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yes, there we go. Look,
we
Dan,
can get you so many volunteers for this next election.
Oh,
it's not
cool. Thank you.
We'll ship Dan over to help out with the campaign.
That's right. Dan's on the next boat.
You do the Steimer, huh?
That's right. Now, I noticed a couple of other questions there. Let's jump to those if we could, please, Travis.
Yep. So we actually got Taz. Taz is sort of like our residential, non-conforming, lefty sort of person. So Taz is awesome. And she's one of those few people who can have an opposing opinion without getting offended. Like,
excellent.
Oh, she's awesome. Her and her husband Tony are just fantastic. So Taz says, back to being honest, I have an opposite opinion, but I have my reasons. So Taz, I do want to hear which issue that was on because I love hearing it.
Oh, there you go.
Here she is. Here she is. Let's see. We have a woman is a Homo sapien who identifies as female. No.
And
be nice. Taz is good.
Hey, you know what? This is the thing. This is the beauty of this. I have, we can be friends, okay? We can shake hands, we can have a cuddle, whatever. The fact of the matter
Tony
is,
would go if you had a cuddle.
Okay. I'll cuddle Tony too.
Yeah.
Look, it comes down to this, is that we can have different opinions. We don't have to hate each other. The wonderful thing we've got here, look at this situation. We've got people of different backgrounds, even the Californian, I'm sorry, but I'm just joking. I actually would love to go to California one day.
I would.
Not at the moment, you will.
No. That's why I said one day.
You know the best thing about California is driving out of it.
Oh no!
Let Trump clean it up, especially LA.
When I said I want to go one day, 1968 was probably the day. One of those 365. No, look. But the thing is, we can have different opinions, and I think that I will cuddle Tony first. I promise. Okay.
Our resident arguer is in.
All right, things are.
I'm waiting for a thumbs up and see if Shaq wants to come in.
I can see Shaq there. He's
No, he's not ready yet. He's just listening in.
I'm already, before he comes on, I just want to make mention of his shirt. It's very disappointing.
Ooh, hang on, I'm vibrating. So it's probably Shaq.
He's giving you a call. All right. As I say, we can have different opinions. This is very, very important, right? We've lost this so much in society. This ability to discuss things, agree to disagree, and move on. So no, look. All jokes aside, Taz, I think you've got every right to have your opinion, and I will fight to the death for you to be able to represent yourself and say what that is. So,
by the way, she said to cuddle Tony first.
I know. I saw that. Very important.
Dan wants to say something, guys.
Dan?
He's been very waiting patiently for us.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, so I think Trump's view on this is that you shouldn't be castrating children because they really don't have the capacity to understand what's going on. It's mostly their left-wing parents that are pushing these kinds of things, and you shouldn't before not too long ago, DSM standards viewed transgenderism as a mental illness, right? And it is a mental illness. We know this to be true. It's still a mental illness. People who suffer from that, but it's an issue that should be handled with consenting adults when they reach a point of maturation where they can understand and deal with it. And but it's a very personal decision, right?
Of course it is.
And so there's a whole variety of opinions on this, but to be mainstreaming children who don't really have the capacity to understand these things is child abuse. It's wrong.
Agreed.
And not only should it be legally wrong, but the other issue is women in sports, right? So, or trans in sports. If a person is so strong physically that they have a physical disadvantage that can be harmful to other women, and or create a competitive advantage because of their testosterone levels and other things, or physiology or whatever, then it's not fair. It's not fair to women. We've spent decades trying to advocate for women's rights and that kind of thing, and this trans movement is working exactly against the trend to support women in sports and other areas, because as much as people may agree or disagree, trans persons are biologically the sex they are born with. Mm-hmm. And although they want to show outside that they're different than that, no amount of surgeries or anything else at this point can make them that way. In reality,
there we go.
Yeah, so it is what it is. We can't. God, I didn't decide this. God sort of decided that we make male and female. Now there's some exceptions to this. We have people who are chromosome mixed and that kind of thing, and intersexed and all that. We know that, but that's the exception. So handle this issue compassionately and with kindness and graciousness, and with some level of tolerance, but do not make it public policy to push this on everybody, because it's not right that they do. It's just as abusive in transphobia to do that as to object to it on the other side, right?
Well, there's one issue in terms of sports, because somebody makes a choice whether to participate in sports, but there's other choices that they make that they don't have. For example, I'm a father of 3 daughters.
Yep. How
do I feel if somebody like that, a man goes into a woman's bathroom, right, while my daughters are using the bathroom?
No.
I'm going, listen, I'm there to be a protector of my daughters. Of
course,
right? That's my role as their dad, to protect my kids. And you have that sort of situation, and if that's legalized, I've got an issue with it. I've got an issue. I must say it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
You could help them. You could help them with their sex change, actually, at that point.
And there's so many out there who decide that is the way they want to live their life. Now, the man who is certainly not straight at the moment, he's coming on the sideways angle. There we go.
So, welcome to the stream, Shaq.
Hello.
Great to see you.
So, I'm listening to all you lot talking about how you respect each other's opinions, and I don't. My opinion is the only one that counts. And all you Docker supporters will know the West Coast Eagles is definitely the best team in Western Australia. Right?
I don't know if you see it or not. There's a
Just
great
talking facts now, you know.
So who got the wooden spoon this year? We should have got it.
Well, it's not a footy show. We're going to be talking about politics and all sorts of social issues.
What are you talking about, the anchor?
Oh, dear. Good to see you, Shaq. What's your input on this situation, mate, and what we've been talking about?
To be honest with you, I wasn't actually. I'm sorry because I was on the phone to lawyers and dentists and all sorts of things. So good to meet you, to our MLA who's there. That's lovely to meet you. But yeah, I actually don't know what you guys are talking about, so I can't tell you what my opinion is.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll jump to Sophia. What are your thoughts in, and obviously then you can contribute after that.
Before we jump to that, is there a real big push to, like same-sex gendered bathrooms and all that sort of stuff actually within Parliament House itself? Or are they still sort of like, oh, yeah, we'll push all this crap, but we won't do it ourselves?
Currently, we have female and male toilets. I haven't seen
how transphobic of Parliament House.
I know.
Disgusted.
Yeah. Regressive, hey.
Common sense.
What is this, 1940s?
Yeah. We do have an inclusivity officer in there somewhere. He was very upset about me speaking out against men invading women's spaces. Looked at. I mean, the self-ID bill just got rammed through. I don't know if you saw that.
It was just ludicrous.
And I identify as an attack helicopter.
This is the thing. Yes, exactly right. This is the thing. Okay, right now we've got this ridiculous situation where Labor's got complete control, right? Yep. So they exactly that. They ran through what they like. There really is no checks and balances because if they've got control of both levels of Parliament. Yep. I am so looking forward to May next year, roughly. Well, we've got the federal one, but I think obviously the state election.
March, 8th of March.
Sorry, yes.
8th of March.
I'm getting my M&Ms mixed up. But
mix it up with W&Ws.
Pretty much. So we can make a decision in March, obviously federally in May as well. And I just would really encourage people to go research about the person that you want to vote for, okay? Find out what they're about, all right? Don't be so party political. Be prepared to change. Look at the person who's going to represent you because ultimately that's the point. That's why they're called a representative.
So the great thing is, and I've been having a chat to a friend of ours, they are in the process of creating another, what do they call it? So they take all the different candidates and they look at, cough to get off, and they take all the different policies, bills, statements that you've made and all that sort of stuff, and they line it all up and they say how trustworthy each of the candidates are. So keep an eye out for that. It will be at Turning Point Australia's website. So they were brilliant at the last election.
I actually just got off the phone to him.
Huh?
I was literally just on the phone to him. He just called me. That's why I was one of the reasons why I'm a little bit late.
There we go. All right.
I do want to talk about the voting stuff though. So, look, we obviously eventually you're going to have to pick between the Liberals or Liberal Nationals versus Labor. Eventually, you have to pick them. But Stephen Pettis made this point, which is hit them right where it hurts. Right? If you know that you're going to go for the Liberal Party over the Labor Party, put some independents in first, right? Yep. Preference everything and put the smaller parties or your independents that you agree with in first. Because, and I didn't know this until Stephen told me about it, is that apparently the major political parties actually get money based on how many people preference them first. So when you don't preference them first, it actually costs them something.
The first vote is whoever you put number one on the ballot is the one that gets paid. It's roughly about $3 per vote. Now, the other thing as well, WA is a little bit different to over East because you only have to number 1 to 20 in the upper house ballots. So you can actually totally leave Labor and Liberals, Greens, all of those people, the Nationals as well, totally off your ballot. There's generally enough minor parties that you don't even need to vote for.
I'd never want to tell people how to vote, but for God's sake, don't vote for the Greens.
So, I would say, to be honest with you, I would prefer, like, even if it was the 20th thing on my list, I would want to give it to one of the majors just in case, because I want them to be strong in case the independents don't get up. But the point of that $3 going to the person or the party that you put number one, as soon as Stephen told me that, I will never, ever again put one of the majors down as my number one. which is what I've done. In my 20s, I just put number 1 for Liberal, and that's it. Never really thought about it too much. So I'm not going to do that anymore because they're not operating in a way that is reflective of my values. They're certainly not operating in a way that they say is their values. Or you go to the Liberal Party website and see what it actually says they stand for versus what they actually do. They're not even in line with their own values. So if I can, take my $3 off them, or you guys take your $3 off them, okay, between the 5 of us, we cost them $15. Right? It doesn't matter too much. But if enough people do it, maybe that sends them a bit of a message that Australia is not happy with the way that our political system works.
The public,
well, like
what we're
doing
doing
shows
now.
like this.
Yeah.
This is the thing. And okay, we are not bound by. We are not getting any political money, right? Okay,
not yet. We're not.
Well,
Hey, we have bills to pay.
We do
So
have
if
bills to
there's
pay.
a member of parliament that needs some help, like advertising.
hey, no, but hey, on that front, and I'll be very straight down the line.
Yeah.
Okay, here, Edge, and I've got a very strict policy. Quite frankly, we will not promote and we will not advertise for people we don't believe in. If we do our own research and we feel that you fit into the values that we represent, then I'm very, very happy to have you on board. But we've actually had people approach us before, and quite frankly, they're against what I think Edge is all about, which is free speech and educating people on these sorts of issues. If they don't fit that criteria, as much as yes, we have a station to run, it costs a lot of money to run this, I still say no, because ultimately our integrity is never for sale.
Yeah.
And I think that
We have a panel question.
we have a respect for our audience that we will never ever fall to that kind of pressure.
But the other thing is we have to give them the
Before we go to that panel question, just to answer the question you asked, look, I think education is important. So I was actually on the ARC podcast, the Turning Point Australia podcast with Stephen Pettit, and that particular show we talked about this. That he showed me the stats on all the different places he pushes that out to, and that got like well over 1 million views. So I think that the more that we talk about it and the more that we are able to have other people hear about it, because I'm sure that most Australians wouldn't know that that's how it worked. I didn't know until Stephen Pettit told me, and again, it's stuff I normally am known to be a little bit more political, know a little bit more about politics, and I didn't know that. So the more that you tell people, the more they go and tell people, and eventually we get change, hopefully.
One other thing that really needs to be done as well, you get a lot of people like, let's say you don't go in, it's called a donkey vote, where you just put the numbers 1 to 10, whatever, straight down the line.
Yep.
Please stop doing that. If you genuinely don't care, just leave it blank.
Yeah,
Because what happens if you go top to bottom, whatever, whoever gets it first, let's say it's Labor, Liberals. If there's someone who's genuinely trying to make a difference, who's trying to become someone, if you do a donkey vote like that, what's going to happen is they've now got to get 2 votes to counter your donkey vote. So it makes it twice as hard. So if you don't care, this is for the people who just literally do not give a shit about politics. They couldn't give 2 hoots, whether it's Labor or Liberal. Rock up, sign your name off, because for Dan, we have compulsory voting. We have to vote. Rock up, sign your name off, leave the ballot paper blank. Do not vote on it. That's a better option than putting donkey votes. Better yet, draw a PP on it.
Yes, always. The common denominator is you taking it to a level it shouldn't go. All right, beautiful. Let's jump to these questions.
Question time.
Now, fantastic to see that you're enjoying the show. Really fantastic comments coming through. But
come on, devil's lettuce. We got to get to this.
Let's have a look at this. Okay.
All right.
I'd love to know why cannabis is illegal. I would love to. Look, it's not something that I enjoy or use, but if other people want to do it, what's the problem? Let them do it.
That's my attitude too.
For the people listening without a camera, why is the devil's lettuce still illegal when it helps so many, including veterans? And to add to this, people with Parkinson's disease, MS, so many autoimmune diseases. Have you seen the video clip where the guy's got full Parkinson's, like can't control himself? I'm not trying to be spastic, but like he's like full twitching. So he takes 2 drops under his tongue, and within seconds, like his hand's stable, he can talk, he's relaxed, all the muscles just can't punch the microphone. Everything just calms down, and he can actually operate normally and talk again. And this first time in like 10 years he's been able to do that.
That's funny you say that.
How the hell is that not legal in Australia?
Yesterday, I spoke to a man. Right?
This is like why I like hippie medications, because they work.
Well, right, there we go. I spoke to a man who's got Parkinson's, and he said this guy is, well, he told me he was 78 years old, right? And he's actually started using cannabis because the fact of the matter is it's taking away his pains, taking away the shakes, is making his life a lot better to deal with.
So let's go to the former Cannabis Party person and the best independent out there. Why is it still illegal in Australia, in WA in particular?
I'm not quite sure why it's still illegal. Medicinal, though, is easy to get.
Sure.
It's getting cheaper, and there are more and more doctors prescribing it. As a result of that, and I feel the government has missed the boat here, they should have legalized it by now, but because it's fairly easy to get on a script, we now have a black market in prescribed cannabis. So when you're looking at, in particular, men 18 to 45, they are driving the medicinal market, looking for high THC products, and those products are now making it out onto the black market. It doesn't make sense to not have it legalized. With legalization, you can regulate and you can tax
revenue. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Exactly.
Look at that. Yeah.
Right?
We won't have it.
You would also take a big chunk of money away from organized crime. So cannabis is the bread and butter for organized
crime. I call that the Labor Party. Same thing.
So can you imagine how much police resources will be freed up if cannabis is legal?
Exactly. Exactly. That's right.
Sorry, I would go a step further than that. I'd go a step further than that, and I would say that not every drug, but most drugs that people use recreationally, a lot of the problems that we're actually seeing and the health effects that we're seeing is because of the impurities that are in those drugs from drug dealers that are trying to make extra profit. If it was regulated and legalized, you're going to pay tax anyway, right? If you're buying it from a dealer, you're paying tax to that dealer because the dealer's making all this extra money. Or you pay tax to the government. It's one of the very few times I would actually say the government should get the revenue, right? So at least then you know the drugs are clean, they're pharmaceutical grade. You as you said, you get rid of the organised crime factor in this. People have access to it. And look, I'm not here to advocate for people to do drugs, not at all. But I'm here to advocate that it should be their choice. We don't need government telling people what to do. And if you think that there are some risk factors, put a warning label on it like you do with cigarettes.
So I've advocated for pill testing in the upper house several times.
Well, you want to know there's quality, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the government has said no, direct no. In Amsterdam or in the Netherlands, they've got pill testing centres.
Sure.
And as a bizarre side effect from that, the quality of substances has increased.
Is that right?
Because if you buy something from your drug dealer, you go and get it tested, and it's not particularly pure, it doesn't have the right stuff in it. You go back and complain to your drug dealer, and
sorry, what do you do? Say, I want to speak to the manager, please. You sort of chuck a carrot at your drug dealer.
The WA government did it for us. Like, they did a massive Karen moment back in the early 2000s. So I had a very misspent youth, and so close friends would understand, being a DJ, what happens. So they had a thing called dobbing your drug dealer. Right. And I loved it because all the police were bragging about all the really good pills that they got. And they're all like the brown big brothers, which were like laced with so much bad shit in it. Like, all the drugs that they were bragging about were all the really, really bad, impure ones. So it was sort of like, if you combine pill testing with dobbing your drug dealer, you know that the drug dealers are always going to have the good stuff.
Well, earlier in the show that Dan mentioned something about being un-American. It's very un-Australian to dob in anyone, okay? I want this whole dobbing thing to go. Let's go back to how we used to be. Look, we've only got a few minutes left.
Are you trying to say you have an opposition to the dob in the unjabbed or whatever, dob in the people that are leaving their house without breaking the COVID lockdown? Of course you're going to dob in your neighbour. Of course you will. This is how you have a harmonious society, isn't it?
That's the Australian way now. Ladies and gentlemen,
we've got something. So something we haven't been doing on this show enough, because we need to get our YouTube to 1,000 subscribers.
We do, yes.
So everyone listening in today, anyone who sees this later, please go to our YouTube channel. Guess who's just tuned in?
Hey, Terry. Hey, Josh as well.
Josh has just tuned in. So please head over to the Edge Radio Australia YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button there. I think subscribe. Also, the Worldwide Awake Businesses. I'm going through the list. Terry Messenger on the Facebook side of things. Worldwide Awake Businesses also on the Facebook side of things. Please like and subscribe, because once we hit the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we can actually monetize the YouTube channel, and then we can watch how many fights we can have with YouTube over. Oh, that doesn't meet community standards.
That's right. Yeah, look, building that side of Edge has not been a priority for me, and it should have been. It's something that we've had wonderful numbers, but maybe we should have put a little effort into that. So if you could help, tell a friend this, and you do a fine job of annoying me. You really do. We've got a couple of minutes to go, so we're going to have to wrap things up. So I'm going to run around, if I may. So Sophia, look, what are your thoughts about, well, basically today's show, I guess? Look, let's roll back. Let's go back to the beginning of sorts.
Okay.
How do you feel about this new this run of democracy and free speech that we got with the Orange Man bad?
Yeah, interesting.
Mm.
I think the Australian government needs to take heed of what happened in the US and recognize the reasons why Trump was elected, and that is free speech, cheap energy, pro-women's rights, bizarrely enough. And I think those are the big issues that are going to play in the next few elections in Australia as well.
Great. To Shaq. Shaq, your thoughts there?
I hope so. I might move back to Western Australia just so I can vote for Sophia, because look, I think that what we need to have is some sense, right? We just need our politicians and to remember that they are not here to rule over us. They're here to be our representatives. And look, they can't represent everybody at all times. I understand that, but let's just be sensible about things that we're doing. And I think the United States has, we tend to follow them, unfortunately. So because they've actually taken this stance in this last election, and they've sort of repudiated all of the nonsense that they've had to put up with for the last 4 years, I certainly hope that we follow those footsteps.
Dan, your thoughts, my friend?
I do think that what's happening in America will send reverberations around the world for those who are interested in protecting free speech, defending liberty, and the right of free people to self-determine their future. I hope that's the case. I think Trump is a real champion for liberty, for democracy, ironically, and represents the value system that America represents. Now, some people think that he's a demon and this person has been evil. All the stuff that he used to do, he's long since left in the past, and he's decided to be a big boy now. He's grown up, and he's put on his big boy pants and becoming a leader of the free world. He did a good job last time. There's not going to be much difference in the way he does it this time. The formula he used last time will work this time as well. Although Biden did his best to destroy the freaking country and our currency and everything else, and the border and all that. That's what I have to say. God bless America.
Love it. All right.
One last conspiracy theory.
Well, a couple of things. Can I get you to put some of these comments up? It's fantastic seeing people putting the comments through, and I love to answer these questions.
I have been putting them.
I just want to very quickly say something to Dan. Many of us, especially this from me, started to feel like we were becoming a bit disillusioned with the United States and the direction it was heading in. And what the American people have just done is they've just said, you know what? You've gone too far. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to elect somebody who you'd never expect us to elect. We're going to give him the Senate. We're going to give him the House. We're going to give him the Supreme Court. And that Supreme Court is probably going to be a 7-2 Supreme Court with 7 there that are put there by him. So that's going to be the situation with the United States now for decades. And that is because they took the country in a direction that is totally against the fundamental values of what America is supposed to be about. And that warms my heart. It really does.
My theory is because they turfed Biden, I still think Jill Biden is the power of the family.
Right.
So I think she was really, really salty that Biden got kicked out where he did. I think she's hated Camilla for a long time. And so what's happened is they're the one that organizes all the ballot drops and the Ferrari to rock up and all those massive amounts of votes coming in at one time. So I reckon that what's happened is Jill's gone, you know what? F you, we're not dodging the ballots this time. Have a look at the total number of votes for Biden. Sorry, for Trump at the last election to this one, exactly the same.
Sure.
But you have a look at Biden, 20 million difference.
Wow.
So tell me, and I did make this prediction before that a lot of Democrats won't show up, but 20 million people not rocking up because they switched candidates.
Now, this sounds like a conspiracy theory.
I don't think it was 20. I think it's about 10.
And
I think it's about 10.
Conspiracy theories, right? You know what the difference between fact and conspiracy is?
6 months.
Spot on. Right. Now, Derek, we really need to wrap up.
I think it's really ironic that you've got the ambassador of Australia self-censoring himself while his mates in Canberra are trying to push the Misinformation Act through. I think it's so ironic. And I think to myself, what a wuss, because Trump wouldn't delete all his comments. Trump would never do that. And yet this ambassador is trying to delete it on Twitter or X, whatever it is. I just think it's just so ironic. It's making the leaders of the world reconsider where they stand. And it's a long time they did. It's long overdue.
You guys remember, this is one of the reasons I was so annoyed at Jacinda Ardern when she was the opposition leader for deciding to have a crack at the Australian Liberal Party. If you want to have a crack at Australian foreign policy, fine, but she had a crack at the Australian Liberal Party over domestic policy. What are you doing wasting time on the floor of that beehive thing in Wellington to criticise a political party in Australia? But normally, you don't do that. You don't criticise. If you're in politics, you don't criticise particular politicians or particular political parties on domestic issues in another country. So Kevin Rudd should be actually recalled to Australia and said, look, mate, you can't go over there and badmouth somebody who had a chance of becoming the president. You're out of there.
Ambassador is there to represent the country, not your own personal opinions. That's the role of an ambassador, and that role was forgotten.
Yeah, but Kevin's never been very bright when it comes to making decisions about human interaction. I've cleaned that up. I've self-censored. Oh, hang on. Oh, no. What's going on there? Hey.
Have you got a fever?
just checking. All right. Now,
we do need to wrap up, though.
We've got to wrap up very quickly, though. Sophia, if you can give us a 30-second pitch of, why we should follow you and make you accountable for your position and all that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. 30 seconds. I try to speak the truth. I'm not afraid of speaking up, and I have done so about several very awkward subjects. I don't claim to be perfect, but I do try as much as possible to be informed and make informed decisions and lead debates in the chamber about subjects that I think are specifically pertinent to Western Australians.
So I've just chucked into the comments the link to Sophia's Facebook page. Yep. So please jump on over there, give it a like, subscribe, or whatever else you do on the Facebook side of things. She's one of the few politicians actually, I think it might be the only politician in WA at the moment who's actually got the courage. I was going to say balls, but that's not very gender equality. The courage to actually come onto the show, have it out with us, have a chat, dribble shit with us, and so I just genuinely really thank you for coming on.
Absolutely agree.
Fairly short notice. We've gate crashed Dan's show and had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dan. Appreciate the gate crash. Okay, this is the end of the show.
Well, you've won my vote. I'm sure you've won plenty of our audience's votes too, because that's all we're looking for. Most of us is somebody that does their best, recognises they're not perfect, and just isn't afraid to go in and represent the things that they want to represent. I think that's brilliant. So
brilliant indeed. All right, we are out of here. Of course, this is Freedom Fridays on a Monday. If you're listening on Friday, or you're listening on Saturday, you're listening on Sunday. I don't know. Thank you very much for being part of it. All the amazing people. So many messages coming through. Really want to talk to a couple of people. Josh, particularly, Damo as well. Just so many
interesting comment about the Senate there from
Josh. I know. That's what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait for that one. Really excited. But let's get on with it. Do not go anywhere though, because in 30 minutes we're coming back here at Edge Radio Australia for the greater wealth. Now, if you happen to be listening online right now at edgeradioaustralia.com, great, because I'm going to play a song which I think just sort of it brings a smile to my face these days. It's all about the election. I see red, I see red, I see red. It's Edge Radio